Okay, well, it is time to get started to share Learning Blade, a STEM computer science and CTE program with everyone. I'm excited that Sheila Boynton, the CEO and president of Learning Blade, is here to kick us off. So Sheila, if you'd like to give us some opening words, please.
Yes, good afternoon, everybody. Hi, sorry, I'm actually traveling, so you might hear some traffic going by, but on behalf of the Learning Blade team, we are really excited to work with Mississippi and the schools in Mississippi, along with the University of Southern Mississippi and the governor's office, and Dr. Carrie Wright, Dr. Marla Davis in your Department of Education. You know, we hope that you find Learning Blade to be a useful sort of another arsenal in your toolbox for you as instructors, educators, etc., to really help kids see just the vast majority of careers that are out there in STEM, computer science, and CTE. As later on this week, we'll be kicking off the Computer Science Education Week for the nation. We will actually be joining Governor Asa Hutchinson of Arkansas, who will be leading computer science initiatives for the country this next coming year, and Learning Blade certainly proud to be a partner with him. Just want to remind you, that we are here to help you. And so if there's any way that we can provide training for your local districts or individual teachers, we try very hard and really most of the time succeed in accommodating that. So if you want training, etc., I know Joshua just popped into the chat box, info@learningblade.com, but hopefully you'll see things here today that you can utilize in your classroom, even starting tomorrow. I also do want to say during the pandemic, we've really called our healthcare people our heroes, but I just like to say our educators were our heroes as well. What you guys had to endure during a really rocky start to last school year and then the year before, you should be commended for that. And for that, I just wanted to just personally say thank you to you all for that. Joshua won't brag on himself, but I will. Joshua was an Einstein Fellow with the Department of Education, the Department of Energy, for 2 years, leading STEM education for them. And we brought him aboard several years ago at Learning Blade to really lead our implementation team. He's been a 10-year middle school teacher in 3 different countries. He's been in your shoes, and he is really just wonderful at helping you. And he has a whole team behind him, including Megan and others that are there to support your needs. So if there are things you like in Learning Blade, we definitely want to hear about it. And even if there are things you don't like in Learning Blade or you want to see a little differently, we are very responsive to that. So you are 8 statewide contract. We've been 7 years in Tennessee and 6 years in Arkansas, and we look forward to a long and fruitful relationship with the state of Mississippi, as well as each of you. So thank you so much for allowing me a few minutes to say hello. And I'm going to turn it back over to Joshua, and I hope you have a wonderful afternoon.
Thank you, Sheila. It's really nice that so many of you have your cameras on, because I like to ask thumbs up, thumbs down questions, get responses, see reactions. The first real question, I just want to sort of start off. My title of my slides in the presentation, students can't be what they can't see. In the chat box, maybe you want to say what that means to you, to your school, to your students. What does it mean students can't be what they can't see? Just trying to use that chat box as a way to engage people as we go through this session. But the goal of Learning Blade is to introduce students to these STEM, high demand, high wage STEM computer science and CTE careers. So, and I'll just say it one more time. If you haven't already, if you put your name and school district in the chat box, Megan, who's on our team, is checking to give you information on if it's already turned on in your Clever district, because we've got a lot of Mississippi's Clever districts turned on. Ms. Miller talks about exposure. Ms. Brown talks about adults being positive exemplars for our school children. All those things matter. And I like to think that a child, when you ask them, what do you want to be when they grow up? They're limited by their vocabulary, right? So they're going to say rapper, football player, doctor, lawyer, YouTuber, social media influencer. And as Tanya says, we want students to think outside the box, right? And so that's the goal of Learning Blade, to help students think outside the box. I think your state superintendent of education, when she was quoted about Learning Blade being a free capital FREE resource statewide. She talks about how Learning Blade is a great addition to help improve student achievement because we support core academics, which we do, and I'll show you. But also students having a chance to see the relationship between academics and careers will better prepare them for the workforce. So as Dr. Carla Evers talks about, students need to see experiences and examples of visions that they want and that we hold for them. So I agree completely with Dr. Evers. Thank you for that. So this is my one soapbox slide. I get a chance to preach to this incredible choir of educators. You know, girls and minorities are underrepresented in STEM. I'm a father of 3 minority daughters, and I really think that I call myself a STEMinist. So the research is abundant. How do we expand participation in the STEM workforce, in the computer science workforce? The National Academies of Science wrote about it. American University Association of Women wrote about it. Google wrote about it. You have to expose students to the careers, to the opportunities earlier. So that's what we're trying to do. But I want to point out that we're also exposing them to the fact that STEM in computer science does not mean PhD, that at the community college level, you can go to a technical school or a community college and get a computer science background. You can get healthcare start. You can get started in the energy field and in the manufacturing field. There are so many STEM opportunities in the 2-year degree path as well. So Learning Blade's trying to show a broad opportunity, what STEM looks like in the real world. And I think we're sort of decomposing the myth that STEM means PhD scientist. STEM is, everywhere, and any student can aspire to be in STEM. And this was data from ACT that showed that there's actually this larger group of students that are proficient at math and not interested in STEM. So I want to ask you guys in the chat box, why are students not interested in STEM? I mean, those are problem solvers in society. They're solving big problems and awesome opportunities, high wage, high demand. Why do we think students are not interested in STEM? Maybe you want to put that in the chat box. What's limiting their interest in the STEM workforce? Ramona talks about lack of exposure. Bullseye, I think that's a good one, Ramona. Anyone else want to add to that? But that's my next slide, Ramona. The number one reason is the lack of awareness, right? They don't know what STEM really means. We're using STEM all the time in education now, but we use it as an acronym, S period, T period, E period, M, which is more silos. Learning Blade wants students to recognize the real world applications of your core academics to problem solving. And so we're trying to help middle school students, 9th grade students. We are aligned to the Mississippi State standards, grades 5 through 9. And I've seen it scaled up and down beyond that. But we're trying to help students recognize what the opportunities are and how they exist. So this research from UMass was kind of stunning as a former educator. I thought I was preparing my middle school students for high school. It never occurred to me that they're making career-related decisions. So what kind of decisions do middle schoolers make that impact their trajectory? Do I want to try hard in school today? Will I try hard in math? Do I want to take honors classes? What do I do after school? What electives do I choose? They're making all these choices and it affects their career trajectory. And they're making them with a very narrow view of the world. They only know so much. They're 12, 13 years old. So what we want to do is give them the ability to look forward in their future and understand the opportunities. So to think critically using STEM-based principles. I love it. So Learning Blade is all about problem solving and thinking critically. You'll notice here, I just want to point this out. This was the front page of USA Today. 42% of Americans say they would have considered STEM careers or courses if they better understood the career path. That's adults saying, I wish I had understood the career path. So that's what Learning Blade's designed to do. Any of you that are in the CTE world know Perkins 5, and I just want to put this slide up to talk about the shifting sands in education. I think it's been an enormous shift, a big change, that Perkins 5, the federal dollars for career technical education, is saying schools must provide career exploration, career development in the middle grades. We got to start sooner. So this is the first time since Perkins was initiated that you can now use your federal funds to do more in the middle grades. And that's really what we're trying to do in Learning Blade, is provide context. So I see a bunch of your video feeds going on. Raise your hand or type yes in the chat box if your students have ever asked you, when will I ever use this? When will I ever use this? What, I'm seeing hands go up all over the place, right? And oh yeah, look at that. There we got Christy's got a hand, Eleanor, Dr. Evers, Jennifer, thank you for participating. So as a teacher, I used to think that was an annoying question. I had done an amazing job prepping an awesome lab. What do you mean, when will we use this? We're using it today. But I now realize that every teacher gets that question around the country. And that means it's a universal truth. Kids are seeking relevance. They want to understand how their academics relates to the future opportunities in the world that present themselves. So that's what Learning Blade is designed to do, to supplement and enrich, exposing students to the context of math, science, English in the real world, but doing it in our secret sauce recipe, which is seeing the STEM careers in a story and then practicing the standards, so you're reinforcing those standards. I want to get back down to the bottom of my chat box so I don't miss anything going on down here. Thank you all for, so we have 12 missions. Each mission in Learning Blade is a problem in society that is solved by using your academic skills through your STEM careers and using technologies. So whether you're rescuing a dolphin, which is the story of Winter the dolphin, and prosthetics, and learning about veterinary sciences and machinists who build those things, and learning about biomedicine and marine science, or designing an orphanage after an earthquake in Haiti, or looking at climate change and how to address it through renewable energies, or building a robot for your fire department, or the bottom one here, solving your school has been hacked. What do you do? What are the careers and technologies? We're presenting problems and how they're solved by real world people using basic fundamental skills that they learned in math and science class and English class. And you'll notice on the right are career clusters. Our clusters are covering all those high demand STEM computer science fields. So we have science, construction, medicine, energy, agriculture, IT, transportation, logistics, advanced manufacturing, finance, business, lightweight metals, and computer science. So we're really trying to show students those high demand fields and getting them excited about the opportunities. So what I'd like to do is sort of now drill down into what those missions look like. I told you that each mission is about 8 to 10 hours of interdisciplinary lessons that they can choose from. And as an interdisciplinary lesson, what they're actually getting is what teachers are receiving is a buffet of options that you can present to your students. You'll notice on our flu outbreak, and we designed this pre-pandemic, when we talk about vaccines, we've got science, math, and social studies lessons. When we talk about epidemiologists, we got an English, a science, a math, a social studies lesson. So this English lesson, what is an epidemiologist? Or this science lesson, preventative methods for the treatment of the flu. Those are 10-minute chunks. All of Learning Blade's online lessons are built as 10 to 15-minute chunks. Now, I love the term chunking in my curriculum planning because kids' attention span are about 10 to 15 minutes. So you can use Learning Blade chunks at the start of class, bell ringers, as a classroom rotation activity, or maybe as an early finisher activity, right? And so, there's so many different ways to use Learning Blade. It could be an extra credit, but you have 40 little 10-minute lessons, interdisciplinary per mission. And so that's about 8 to 10 hours in flu outbreaks, same for heart surgery. I'm just going to show you a couple more diagrams to kind of get you to see all the diversity we have here. Looking at community college, welders, machinists, technicians, making sure students get to see all the opportunities present for them. I remember I was at a Skills USA conference, and there was the state winner for Tennessee who won the Skills USA in her category. And what she said was that she didn't even know that there were opportunities in community college until her senior year of high school, when someone said, you know, you're really good at this, you might look at the technical community college. I don't think students are getting presented with these opportunities. And so we want to make sure that they all see it. So here's our manufacturing mission. Now, Sheila mentioned next week is National Computer Science Education Week. What do you got for your students? How are you integrating CS? Learning Blade has over 100 computer science lessons, which show students, it builds their knowledge, their vocabulary, their understanding. We're used by cyber fundamentals teachers. Really already I'm seeing a high demand from the cyber teachers in the state on when they fill out the forms. But also, Learning Blade is exposing students to those careers. Teacher, when will I ever really use coding? Well, if you're a data scientist, if you're an information security analyst, if you're a software engineer, exposing them to those different things. But again, and this is our secret sauce, English lesson, science lesson, math lesson. So we're showing the core academics being critical to your success in any field. And that's really what we're trying to accomplish here. Now, I want to point out that when students log in, they can choose to do the full mission or the express mission. The full mission is access to everything on the screen. The express mission is just the asterisks. Do you see there's one asterisk here and one asterisk here? So there's one asterisk per tool and per teammate. So instead of doing an hour of curriculum for each circle, they just do 10 to 15 minutes. They still get to learn about everything, but it's in a quicker, more simplified fashion. So we've got all these different missions. Fresh food's my favorite. I don't know if you have an ag teacher that would love some additional resources, but this is 10 hours of curriculum on one of the biggest STEM fields in society, agriculture. I grew up next to a farm. I did not know there were careers other than farmer, but this is helping students see agronomist, agricultural engineer, microbiologist. I'll point out, you might have noticed this, but there's a lot of engineering going on in Learning Blade, industrial engineer, software engineer, agricultural engineer, biomedical engineer. So as NGSS and your state standards call for engineering practices to go into your science curriculum, we're really helping students see that. All right, I want to say one more thing about Computer Science Education Week. When you log into Learning Blade, we actually created a short mission. This is only 2 hours long. And what we did is we took the best elements of our 100 CS lessons and we mushed them into a quick unit called Intro to Computer Science. That way, this was really designed for CS Ed Week to say, we want to make sure during CS Education Week, every student in middle school or every 8th grader, every 9th grader or every 5th grader is being exposed to some elements of CS. And that's what these are. These green circles all include a little video lesson, which gives a highlight of that career. And it's pretty exciting that students across the country really use this lesson. We actually work with Gear Up in many states, and they love to make sure that their students get this as part of their college and career readiness, knowing about these opportunities. Okay, feel free to ask questions in the chat box. Because Megan is also following those and will relay those back to me. I want to put in the chat box now, if you don't know if your school has an account or you want an account, all you got to do is go to learningblade.com/MS, and that's how you log in. It takes 30, 40 seconds and you get your account. But what I'm showing now, I'm drilling down. I like to think I'm started at 40,000 foot level. Now I'm at the 10,000 foot level. And then in a second, I'm going to log in live and show you. But when students log in, they see the full mission or express mission. They can see all the different options. When they choose one, say Energy Express, the tools and teammates are hyperlinks, so they can click on those and learn about those careers and those technologies. It is keeping score for students. And I have heard multiple teachers call Learning Blade a lifesaver, especially with COVID and students being quarantined and all those things. It's grading for you. It's giving you a grade book analysis of student performance, which is a nice resource, but also it's 400 lessons that a teacher can turn to when they need something for their students. I think our missions or our express missions would be wonderful for a quarantine student. It's giving them math, science, English, social studies, and it's got a whole sort of theme to what they're learning. So once a student chooses a tool or teammate, they're going to be introduced to interactive lessons where they explore the career and explore the technology, but they're going to review those academics. There is an audio track on every page. Yes, Ms. Wilson, I will actually be sending out the PowerPoint and this recording so you can share it with others. Thank you for your wonderful question. So you can see there's an audio track on every page. It does read to the students, and it's keeping score in the form of stars. And really fundamentally, Learning Blade is based, if you had to say, like flour is the basis of a pancake, the foundation of Learning Blade is reading informational text. We think that's the college and career ready skill to get students ready for that next level. But on the teacher resource side, we got all those hands-on projects, and I'm going to show you that in a second. So that's what I'm about to show you. So after students do all the online lessons and those 400 of them and a buffet of choice for the teachers and students, we also have career videos. Every teammate, yes, there's a way to turn off the read feature as well, Dr. Evers. Absolutely. It actually is in the off mode. You need to turn it on if you want to use it. We have 50 career videos in Learning Blade. So every career has a short video, but here's what's unique. The video ends with a salary range. So we can start planting seeds in students' mind. Yeah, the CS careers, they're making $60, $70, $80, $90,000 a year. They can start to see that STEM careers are high wage careers, livable wages, and that's important. So then I like to describe Learning Blade like a brain, two hemispheres. We have our online hemisphere, student self-paced learning, all those 400 academic lessons, those career videos. Then on the teacher resources side, we have what we call our toolbox. And so we have challenge projects, simple hands-on projects that require no cost. We like to call them kitchen sink. Hey, students, bring in a water bottle for class tomorrow. Bring in a paper towel roll, and we're going to build with that. So we have some simple engagement strategies, open-ended writing prompts, things like that are in our challenge projects. We have design thinking. So I don't know if you know this term yet. I think it's coming in education. It is what engineers do, right? Scientists do the scientific method. Engineers follow a design thinking process. So the egg drop would be a perfect design thinking lesson, right? How do you protect the egg as it falls from the school's roof? Well, we have 12 design thinking challenges around our mission theme. So our fresh food one is our potato chip challenge. How do you package a single potato chip to protect it from the United States Postal Service? So talking about food packaging, things like that. We have handouts for parent discussions. So you can use these once a month. Here's the crazy thing. I'm going to watch your lips because I know what you're going to say. What do students say when their parents ask them, what'd you learn in school today? Nothing, nothing. I saw it, nothing, nada, right? So we have this series of lessons to try and send home after a student finished a computer science or a fresh food mission in Learning Blade, send home a single prompt, a conversation starter, and see if you can catalyze a conversation at the dinner table. Some families will, some families won't. But research suggests families that talk to their kids about school, they do better in school. So why don't we use that to try and encourage talking about school at home? I use this in my classroom, and parents emailed me like, I really like that, do it again. Yes, absolutely, Megan. You may give out my phone number. Megan's going to put my phone number in the chat box to everyone. So if anyone has any questions after this, you can just call me or email me. I'm happy to answer those. 3D printing. Does anyone do 3D printing at their school? We have some of the coolest 3D printing lessons out there. They really are. Our lessons are meant to be experiments. So we have lessons on building a wind turbine, building a earthquake shaker table, building a Pinewood Derby 3D printed car, building an aquaponics tray. We have things that you want to experiment with. And here's the fun fact. We are giving away this year 3D printers to schools in Mississippi. We've given away 200 around the country. And the way you win a 3D printer is by completing 5,000 of these little mini lessons, right? So if you have 100 students and they did 2 10-minute lessons today, that's 200 lessons completed. So in 10 days, they could do 10,000, right? Or 2,000, sorry. So in 10 days in 2,000. So in, gosh, why am I struggling? So in 20 days, they do 4,000, right? So anyway, so if you're using Learning Blade with a regular cadence, it's very easy to win a 3D printer, and we hope that you guys can do that. We have some coding activities, and then kids love Minecraft, so we have papercraft activities as well. If you are a school district that uses Chromebooks, this is an if-then statement, then we have an app for you in our Google Play Store. And our app allows students to download the whole online experience and work offline. During COVID, we recognized that there was a have and have not of internet at home. And we've tried to level the playing field by making Learning Blade downloadable. So it only works right now on the Chromebooks, but most schools are Chromebooks. So that is something you can learn more about that, learningblade.com/backpack. All right. Wrapping up this part of the session, but I just want to point out, I don't know if anyone knows ACT Work Keys. Is anyone familiar with ACT Work Keys and Key Train and Career Ready 101? The team at Learning Blade is the same team that built and designed Key Train and Career Ready 101. So the vice presidents of ACT, Sheila was a former vice president of ACT over Work Keys, is the group that designed Learning Blade. And what they designed was something, we call it bridging the interest gap. I think teachers have heard of the skills gap, right? Students aren't ready for college. They have a skills gap. They're not ready for the workforce. There's a skills gap. Well, Sheila sort of coined the term interest gap. You can't go into the workforce if you don't even know what you want to do. So starting earlier, Learning Blade is designed to start building interest in the workforce, in the STEM and CS and high wage stuff. I mentioned earlier about being a STEMinist, but really the research is pretty solid. Career exposure matters for minority students, and particularly Latina girls, which my daughters are the lowest participating rate in society in the STEM workforce. You improve that by exposing them to the careers and patting them on the back and saying, you could be a great engineer someday. You could do that. And giving them role models and samples and stories of people that look like them and have succeeded in STEM. So that's what we're doing. The system is an LMS. It is tracking student data. It is giving reports to teachers based on skills and what students have seen and completed. And it is searchable by standard. Most schools come at this from a mission or a career exposure focus. But if you are a math or science teacher, and you're saying, where's the geometry lessons in Learning Blade? You can search geometry or search volume of cones and cylinders or search your code, and then you can find those lessons and assign some of those relevance lessons as enrichment or to supplement your class. All right, last 3 slides, and then I'm going to log in, but this is my new favorite term in education, an anchor activity. Who's heard of it? Right? An anchor activity is a lesson that you assign that allows students, when they're early finishers, to not need to wait to keep learning. So if there's 10 minutes at the end of class, it's not downtime, let's keep learning time. And so an anchor activity, Learning Blade has been suggested as a spectacular anchor activity for a whole grade. When you finish early in 6th grade this semester, work on fresh food. In 7th grade, work on Hack Attack. In 8th grade, and that means there's always something to continue the learning. And it's math, it's science, it's English, it's social studies, it's reading, and it's career awareness. So that's a strategy. Learning Blade, Sheila mentioned it, we're statewide in 8 states. There's 5 million lessons completed. So what I want to tell you is we have data. We have statistically significant validated research data. And what that means is after using Learning Blade, we see a doubling of the number of students interested in becoming an engineer or scientist. What that means to me is seeing the trees in the forest. Kids know they need a job. They don't have the vocabulary to describe it, Wait, I've just learned about all these engineering and computer science careers. I'm now interested in that. It won't happen for every student, but I don't know if you've heard of the CSI effect. Who's heard of the CSI effect? Who hasn't heard of the CSI effect? So there was a show in 1999 called Crime Scene Investigators. It's still on TV, CSI. It was the #1 show its first year it rolled out. The next year, universities had a 10,000+% increase in applicants to crime scene investigators. Exposure equals increased interest. So the CSI effect in Learning Blade is exposure to STEM is going to equal an increased interest in those opportunities. But look at this one last data point. 69% increase in students recognizing what I'm learning in school will be useful later in life. Relevance. So using Learning Blade as a supplement is increasing student recognition of relevance. And then my favorite, increasing students' interest in taking advanced math. Boom. They're seeing every career has math lessons. Every career, every technology needs math. Hey, I'm going to need to take math more seriously. So I surveyed 2,000 teachers at the end of last year. 91% of teachers said Learning Blade helps students visualize themselves in STEM careers. That's what we want. That's our goal. So let me log in live and take you on a little tour. First off, I want to just say, here's the website you go to fill out your request for your account, learningblade.com/ms. You can say you want a new account for your school or for your whole district. You fill in your name and then send it. 30 seconds later, tomorrow we'll reply and we'll tell you, we'll help get you started. Once you have an account, I don't have Clever. I know many of you use Clever, but I'm just going to log in regular. This seems small. So I'm logging in as a teacher. When you log as a teacher, you can click on your classes button and you can easily just create more classes. Your classes come with class codes. So you use the class codes to roster your students in Clever, or if you're not in Clever, I'll show you later. Here, I'm going to click on this one. I'm going to show that later, how you can use a class code. Once you click on your class or create a class, you can get in there and there's things you can do, obviously. You can add assignments. Hey, students, I want you to work on the Intro to Computer Science mission. So that's been assigned. Let me add to that. I want to add one other thing, which is Rescue Robots Express. So I just assign the mission. But I could also click on the Activities and Lessons button, and I can go search the standards. I talked to you guys about that a little bit earlier. So I can click on that and say, all right, I'm coming to my state, Mississippi, and I want to see the standard for volume of cones and cylinders. Or this is Pythagorean theorem, 8.g.8. So what other lessons have Pythagorean theorem, right? And I can search by standard if I want to do that, right? And so I can see there's 2 lessons in Learning Blade that cover Pythagorean. Or maybe I could type in Newton. Can't see if I'm typing right. Newton, and see which lessons cover Newton's laws and where that's covered in this. So the anatomy of a car accident, right? Inertia, energy, potential energy. So I can see those things. I do want to show you though, I love this. In Learning Blade, we have a lesson called A Day in the Life. So many of our careers have an English lesson or social studies, which is called A Day in the Life. So a day in the life of a 3D printing technician, a day in the life of a computer programmer, a day in the life of a database administrator, of a drone operator, of an electrical technician, of a marine biologist, and the list goes on. And so what these day in the lives talk about this, the education requirements, what it looks like to be in that job, and it gives those protagonists, those, the varied background of people that are succeeding in the work that they're doing. So there's a lot of lessons you can use in Learning Blade. And of course, you do have your reports. I want to quickly show you what a report looks like. So I'm going to come here and I'm going to click on this and I'm going to get a report for my students. So I can see all the activity of my students, George Carver, Marie Curie, how much the work they've done. I can see their grades, which is spectacular. It's going to come in a second here. And I can see what their score was, how long it took them, the date they completed it on, and I can export all that to Excel, right? But let me digress and go into the student view. What do the students see? So the students, when they come to Learning Blade, what they see are the different missions, the full mission, the express mission. Now, I'm logged in as a teacher. What the teacher sees is direct links. So if you're a Google Classroom teacher, you can grab the direct links and put them in your Google Classroom. So this is what the students see. So now I'm gonna say, okay, let me go. You guys are in Mississippi. I wanna go down to our energy mission and look at a couple of lessons just to show you. So let's look at this environmental engineer career. Let's learn about environmental engineers. We have a day in the life of an environmental engineer, English, history of coal-fired power plants, social studies, a science lesson on the scientific method. Can the color of your house reduce your energy bill? I once went to Greece. I had the great fortune to go to Greece, and all the roofs are white. And so it's like, why do they have different color houses in the Mediterranean and in equatorial regions? Because it changes the temperature inside the house, right? So the answer is yes, but and then there's a video lesson. Before I log in, I want to answer Sarah's question. Do you recommend the students choose their own mission, or should teachers assign the same mission to the entire class? Wow, Sarah, that one is a tough one to answer. The answer is yes. Some teachers like using Learning Blade as a choice, students are in control environment. Other teachers really want to focus on a particular lesson. So I actually describe Learning Blade implementation as a spectrum from complete student choice. Hey, students, finish an express mission by Christmas time, to complete teacher control. We're all going to log in and do this lesson at this time on this day. And then in between is let's all work on this mission together called energy mission, but you students can choose the order in which you finish it in. So I think, Sarah, there's somewhere in between, and it depends on the teacher and the setting. If you were a career teacher, you might choose student choice and let them see the careers they're interested in. If you're a science teacher studying earthquakes this week, you would look at our earthquake lesson in the Haiti Orphanage mission. So, I think it depends on how you want to use it, but thank you for your question. So let's look at a day in the life of an environmental engineer. So students are going to read informational text. I'm going to turn the sound on just so I can share it with you and show you what that's like. Give me 1 second. Sharing sound. So they can turn it on.
A day in the life of an environmental engineer. Nature is all around us. It includes the air we breathe, the water we drink, and the land resources we use. There is virtually no part of the natural environment untouched by.
So they're reading, I've turned the audio track off now. They're reading about engineers and environmental engineers and what they do. They're looking at a bachelor's degree in environmental engineering. So we're introducing some of that college and career ready conversation. And then it's going to sort of, get into when applying for jobs as an environmental engineer, a bachelor's degree required. But if you had read that whole text, work experience is also a key thing to have. So they're going through this lesson and they're learning about the day in the life of an environmental engineer. Is this true or false? It is a combination of principles. And what you're noticing is every question is actually followed by the correct answer. And that's key to self-paced learning, that students they're always getting immediate feedback, right? So these lessons, now this was an English lesson, if you recall. So we're looking at word choice. What is the meaning of the word degradation, right? I'm gonna get the next one wrong on purpose, followed by the correct answer. What does this sentence represent? A fact or opinion? If they get it wrong, they actually cannot move forward. They gotta try twice. If they get it wrong twice, they've lost credit, their score has gone down, and they can then move forward in the lesson. So that's an English lesson. We can look at a math lesson real quick. Right? So energy cost calculator, we're talking about CO2 emissions here. And we're going to look at, this is a multi-step math problem, right? If we're going to compare, if you get a mix, most people have a mixture of energy coming into their house. I've got a nuclear plant this way and a hydro plant that way by my house. So we can look at the emissions as a ratio and as a, percentages. So if you're getting 36% from coal-fired and 64% from petroleum, what's the formula to figure out your emissions, right? It says in simplest form, which is a hint. So there's some test-taking hints in here. But so anyways, this is showing some complex math problems as well. So you got the math, you got the English, and then I just want to show you this video lesson because I really like it. Still reading a page about environmental engineers and how they have a positive impact in the world we live in. And that's what a lot of students are seeking, how to have a positive impact. In fact, the Girl Scouts wrote a report on girls in STEM called Generation STEM. And the Girl Scouts, what it wrote was that 92% of girls want a job that help people. So math science teachers, or especially math teachers, how does math help people? If you make that connection, you're going to keep more of those young girls motivated in math. Again, female protagonist on this story. Going to watch the video, then answer the questions about what you saw in the video. And then that salary potential, right? So this is the online experience for students where they're reading, they're learning about careers. And I actually, last night it occurred to me, I said, I'm going to try this on my webinar. So I did something I've never done before last night, which was I added insulation to a wall. Never done that before. But I was so proud of myself. I told my daughter how exciting it is to learn something new or do something new. And I think that's the part of Learning Blade that can be a great supplement. Every day when you use this, it's inevitable that students are learning something new that they didn't know. And that's really, I think, what we're most excited about is giving students that opportunity. So I'm rounding out my presentation, coming to the end. I want to show you one last part, and it's a big part of Learning Blade, the resources page. So the resources page is where teachers, we have training videos. We've got a direct link for Google Classrooms to all the different careers, the mission outlines, which I'm now going to put in the chat box for everyone. So you have, so everyone has the mission outlines. You can grab it out of the chat box if you know how to grab chat box stuff. I just put the PDF in there for you. But then there's these folders. And these folders are full of lesson plans. So I mentioned our excellent 3D printing lessons. Let me show you my favorite. 3D printing a glider, okay? So this is actually an assignment that you would have students working on variables and determining which variables they want to adjust on their glider, and then testing their design, their tinkered design, their reiterative design to see how it performs. This actually has a hook on it. You shoot it with a rubber band, you measure time of flight, you do multiple trials, you gather data, you graph data. It's giving you all those chances to do authentic science, but on something you designed and printed on your own 3D printer. So that's one example. I'm going to just show you one more quick. I love this one so much. I do. Because I worked at the Department of Energy, and I think, clean energy for me is, kind of cool to talk about and learn about. But wind turbines, especially offshore wind, it's coming. We're one of the last, developed nations to develop our offshore wind. But if you look at this, you would give students the blade knock thing that locks into the socket, and then have them design the blade, right? We've given some base designs, but have them tinker and design the blade, and then have a contest. Whose blades have the greatest momentum, the greatest force, the greatest ability to rotate, speed, whatever you want to measure. When I use wind turbines in my classroom, I add a meter of string with a paper clip on the bottom, and you hook washers to it, and then you can measure work, because 1 meter of distance times mass of object equals work done, force equals, so you can do it that way. So So yeah, there's a 3D printing lesson. We got 10 more to look at. We have coding block activities. So if you're doing computer science next week, if you put, we have your email. So we're going to send out a series of emails next week with resources to use for CS week. One of them is from our lesson plans here. So we've got lesson plans to help your coding class do some fun things. These are offline, which is interesting, right? We have a game called Treasure Ahoy. We've got a game with a deck of cards. Take a deck of cards and teach students if-then conditional statements, but with a deck of cards rather than on the computer. So we have games in here that students can do. Again, these are folders. Here's where those design thinking, engineering challenges are. We've got a folder of lessons here. Each one has the lesson plan, the student handout, the teacher handout, the rubric. So if we look at the one I mentioned, which is my favorite, we call it the potato chip challenge. What it is give students a single potato chip and ask them to build a container. But before they do that, we're going to ask them to have access prior knowledge, right? What do you know about this? And what do you think about why does food go bad? And what do you know about food packaging? And discuss that with your team. We provide resources to dig deeper. And then we're going to have students go through the process, gather your inspiration, define the problem. So look at the criterias and think about all the different definitions of success and how are you going to succeed. Create your brainstorm map. So these are the student handouts where they do the work. And then it also has the rubric and all of those things. And then, because I know there was a younger grade teacher here, I got to show you this paper craft. Younger kids love this. I would think this is not as appropriate for the upper grades, but kids love Minecraft. And every career in Learning Blade has a net design that you can fold up and cut up and turn into a Minecraft figure. And so, you know, it's just I call this my before Christmas break activity, where you can have them working on some fine motor skills, working on precision, learning about different careers in Learning Blade, but also having a good time as they go. So that's what you have in Learning Blade. We also have our parent resources. Our parent activities, I think they're pretty cool. So yes, Dr. Evers, there is for example, I didn't show you our mission challenges yet. The mission challenges come with, so let's say we're going to do the build a rubber band car. There is a list of supplies. I'll get to that. I'll show you. So the hands-on project is the rubber band car. And you can see right here, a materials list is included. But again, when building a rubber band car, this is open. When I did it with my students, it's like, what do you want your tire to be? We're saying you can use CDs for lids or cardboard cut into circles, right? So there's all sorts of ways of approaching this, but we're really trying to make it so it's low cost, no cost. Great. And then the last thing I was going to show you was that parent lesson, just so you can see it. So let's say this is a classic conversation starter for students or parents. But if you have a pizza, you can say, how many miles is required for that pizza? Well, this took a twist on that. And the question is, how many different careers were involved in having a fresh tomato? So that's, you know, a conversation starter. Thank you, Megan. I'll answer that in a second. And then here's the homework slip, right? So we've got all of these resources. It's grading students. You've got the online, you've got the offline. There's a question from Sandra about Clever. I can show you partway, Sandra. I don't actually have a Clever account. So I'm not sure what and Sandra, you can unmute yourself if you would like, but the way most schools go to Clever is you can just log in here as a teacher, go to clever.com, click teacher or staff, then it asks what school are you at. I'll do my daughter's school, Big Ridge. And then once you click on your school, it says log in. When you log into Clever, if your school is linked to Clever through Learning Blade and Learning Blade to Clever, that's a district decision, then boom, you can go find the Learning Blade logo and get started. And then it looks identical to everything you've seen here today. So let me know, Sandra, if that answers your question. Now, in terms of connecting your district to Clever in Learning Blade, that would be you, Sandra, or maybe sending an email to the technology coordinator of the district. Hey, I would like to use this free program Learning Blade. Can you share it with me? And they can just email, you can email me, put me in the CC, Joshua at Learning Blade, and I will send them the instructions to connect to Learning Blade. So if you include me in an email to your technology department, I will send them the instructions they need to get into Cloud. All right, that's great questions. Now is definitely question and answer session time. If there's any questions, please type them in. I don't mind. I mean, there's 35 of us, but if you want to unmute yourself and just ask your question, that's fine as well. But thank you all. As Sheila said, y'all are heroes, really, frontline heroes. You kept our families together in the most challenging of times. So thank you for everything you've done. Let's see if any questions come in. Okay, well, I want to thank everyone for their time, and I'll stay on for the next 5 or 10 minutes if anyone wants to have a conversation. But please check out Learning Blade, share it with teachers. Yeah, listen to Dr. Evers' question. So today was an introduction. Training is included, right? So if you want training for your district, you email me, joshua@learningblade.com, or info@learningblade.com. Tell us the time and date. Hey, we'd like a 60, and normally there's 60 to 90 minutes. Can we get a training on January 3rd or 5th at this time? Yes. We've got a team of trainers, and it's included in the state contract. So just email us and ask for training, and you will get one. You can get 2. You can have 3, have 4, have 5. We don't mind. So we're happy to help. That's our goal. Get schools into this and help teachers with a resource that's beneficial to students and to teachers. So, so thank you for that question, Dr. Evers, so much for that question. And also, let's say you just want a presentation for your CTE staff or for your STEM teachers. Yep, that's the same thing, training, presentation, you name it. We can do them shorter. I could have condensed this into 30 minutes with a little less talk and a little less verbosity, but you know, tell me how much time you have and we will show up to share Learning Blade with your staff. So thank you all for your time and for everything you do. Have a great night and a great end of the semester. Thanks, Willie. Yay, thank you, Ms. Wilson. That sounds awesome. You're welcome, Zane. Thank you. Thank you, Jill. Thank you so much, Megan. Appreciate you, Megan Engel, for being here. Stop share and stop video.